And tonight we're very lucky. We have someone that we all love and admire. Our special speaker is Dr. Paul Williams, and I'll tell you just a little bit about Paul. He is a graduate of the West Virginia University School of Medicine. After completing his residency and entering private practice, he moved to Atlanta, there in Georgia, of course, where he practiced emergency medicine for over 20 years. Dr. Williams has served as a physician for several athletic teams and events, including the United States International Roller Hockey Team, and does this say 1996 Summer Olympics, Paul? He currently resides in Memphis, Tennessee. So tonight, Paul is going to talk to you about why everybody needs Juice Plus, and he's the best one I know amongst many who are good to talk about this subject. So, Paul?
Well, Cheryl, thank you very much. Now, it was really interesting to listen to everybody calling in. I'm glad to know that there are at least a few people on the call who don't think I have an accent. But it's a pleasure to talk with everyone.
Well, you and I may both have an accent. I don't know if we know it, though.
No, I don't think we do.
We don't know it.
No. What I want to talk about in this short time we have tonight is the subject of whole food nutrition, which basically just means all of the nutrients that we find in the foods that we get from plants: fruits, vegetables, whole grains, nuts, berries, beans, etc. But I'll tell you first that this is not something I learned anything about in medical school. First of all, there wasn't much understood about it when I was in school, but unfortunately, today's students are not learning this either. It was only in the early 1990s, a little over 20 years ago, that food scientists began to actually look at what was in fruits and vegetables and began to isolate and identify these substances. And to date, there is a list of over 27,000 different substances in fruits and vegetables. And then the real term for these is phytochemicals. Now, phyto just means it's found in a plant, but the word and chemical just means a substance, really. But that's kind of a scary word to a lot of people, so the term phytonutrient was coined. And they're also called micronutrients just to indicate that each one is there in an extremely small amount, micrograms for the most part. And the other part of the concept of whole food nutrition is that we don't need a large amount of any of these substances on a daily basis, but rather we need a tiny bit of everything, just the way it occurs in the foods that we're supposed to be eating. It's the synergistic effect of having them all together that is so powerful. This is the way our bodies know how to use this nutrition. And this is the way our ancestors of eons ago adapted, or rather this is the nutrition to which they adapted. And we're still the same. We need this nutrition. Now, the underlying concept, the next part of it is that the human body has a tremendous inherent capacity to deal with problems that do occur, to minimize them, control them, often heal them, and to prevent what hasn't happened yet if we feed ourselves right. But that must include an adequate daily intake of this whole food nutrition. One way in which we know this is really important to us, it concerns the process that actually determines our rate of aging. This is called oxidative stress, and all that means is that when we take in oxygen and the cells use oxygen to produce energy, there are little byproducts left over called free radicals. These are a normal part of our metabolism. We actually need a few of them, but we get in trouble when there are too many, because these are electrically charged, unstable particles of oxygen. There are a few of nitrogen as well. For anybody with a science background listening in, each one of these is missing an electron, and they will interact with anything in the body they touch. Any component, any part of a cell, the cell wall, substances in the bloodstream, anything that they touch is going to be an interaction that is called oxidation. The most common example in our everyday world is rust. When metal rusts, it's being oxidized. When you cut an apple and leave it on the counter for a while and it turns brown, it's being oxidized. Well, that process is occurring in the body as well. And the rate at which it is occurring, the amount of this damage that's occurring determines your rate of aging, which basically means how fast things are wearing out, your risk of health problems, and how well your body can deal with the problems that do occur. So obviously it would be a good idea to keep this process at a really low level. Unfortunately, we tend to do things that do exactly the opposite. Cigarette smoking is probably at the top of the list. This produces a tremendous excess of free radicals, and this is why so many smokers look so much older than they really are. They have sped up that wearing out process tremendously. And if they look that much older on the outside or that much more worn out on the outside, they do on the inside as well. Every organ, every tissue is susceptible to this damage. Now, the other thing that will do this, but it doesn't sound like it ought to be thought of as something harmful for us, is exercise. We know we must be active in order to stay healthy. But how can it also be harmful? Well, when you exercise, whether it's just a long walk or more active like running or riding a bike, playing a sport, or a workout at the gym, you're basically using your muscles at a much higher level of activity. This means they need a lot more oxygen. They need more energy, and they have to have oxygen to produce that energy. So we breathe harder, and our hearts beat faster to deliver more blood and oxygen to the muscle cells, and they use it for energy and at the same time create more free radicals. The point is that without the proper protective nutrition, exercise also speeds up the rate of aging and increases the risk of illness and disease. There are many long-distance runners, for instance, who look much, much older than they really are. They've done all that running over the years without the right nutrition to protect them from it. There's a certain specific part of this whole food nutrition that is directly applicable to this situation. Thousands of these phytonutrients have the capacity to function as what are called antioxidants. They're anti the oxidation process. They tend to work together, all together, and they work in groups, and in any group you have to have them all to get the benefit, because they all work in a sequence. One works and then the next one and on down the line. These interact with and neutralize those harmful free radicals before they can cause the damage that results in the problem. So this is a critical part of this whole food nutrition. Doing whatever you can to minimize oxidative stress is an extremely important factor in staying well, in staying as healthy as possible. Now, some of our best-known nutrients are very powerful antioxidants. Two good examples would be vitamin C and vitamin E. In our way of thinking, we tend to come to the conclusion that, well, if a tiny bit of that's good for me, a whole lot of it will be even better. And that is just not accurate. That's not true in this situation. Your body cannot take large amounts of a few things and use that in place of tiny amounts of tens of thousands of things. It just won't work. Not only will it not work, but there's good research that raises a serious concern about the safety of doing that very thing. So that's not the answer. We're back to needing a little bit of whole food nutrition, a little bit of each of these antioxidants, of each of these phytonutrients on a daily basis. And this is the only way our bodies can use this nutrition. Just as oxygen and water are absolutely necessary in order to stay alive, whole food nutrition is necessary in order to stay well and healthy. There's just no way around that point. So, sounds like it would be a good idea to get a lot more of this nutrition, doesn't it? How would one do that? Pretty simple. simple answer. Just eat a whole lot more fruits and vegetables. How hard can that be? Well, it must be pretty difficult because most of us are nowhere near what we ought to be doing along that line. The recommendation for a long time was 5 to 9 servings a day. A serving is an amount of food about the size of your fist. Smaller for a child, of course, but still that number of servings. That was increased several years ago, though, now to an average of 10 servings a day, because it was realized that most of the produce available today is just not as nutritious as those foods were in the past, the way they were grown in the past. So an average of 10 a day. Most Americans are in the 0 to 2 range, and only about 15% of us eat at least 5 servings a day. The rest are well below that. And it's not just that many servings of any old fruits and vegetables you can find. This is where a couple problems come in to complicate the effort to get this nutrition just by eating more fruits and vegetables. In order to get the nutrition from the foods, the nutrition has to be in the foods, of course. These tens of thousands of phytonutrients form in the food as the foods ripen on the plant. So the recommendation is 10 servings a day of fresh fruits and vegetables, which means ripened on the plant and just recently picked. The vast majority of our produce available to us in grocery stores was picked green so it won't spoil. But when you pick it green, you stop the formation of these phytonutrients. It will never be more nutritious than it was the moment it was picked. And the other factor is these foods are supposed to be raw. An average of 10 servings a day of fresh, raw fruits and vegetables, because heat can damage many nutrients. We tend to cook our vegetables a lot more than really necessary. So I don't think you have to eat everything raw when you can. It's really a good idea, but steaming your vegetables or leaving them a little bit crunchy would be a very good idea. So the situation most Americans find themselves in is they are eating fewer than 5 servings a day when they should be eating an average of 10, and what they do eat was not ripened on the plant and has been cooked. And when you put those 3 factors together, it is impossible to get enough whole food nutrition from our modern diet. This means we are left with a more rapid rate of aging, a higher risk of illness and disease, and our bodies cannot deal with the problems that do occur nearly as well as they should be able to. This gap in our diet is where Juice Plus fits into the picture. Juice Plus is now 23 or 24 years old, and it is these tens of thousands of phytonutrients from 30 of our most nutritious fruits, vegetables, and berries, along with the bran from a couple grains. And all of these foods are grown on good soil on farms and orchards that are contracted to or owned by the parent company. It's not somebody's job every Monday morning to start looking for apples. We know where all of this food is coming from. We know where it's being grown. We know we know the source of it. It is all harvested at the peak of ripeness, which means its maximum possible nutrient content. And shortly thereafter, it's put through a mashing or grinding process. You could say juicing, but anybody who's ever juiced anything, you know you just get pure liquid out one side and everything else is left over. In this, it's all mashed up together, and then just the water is removed. This is done in a rapid low temperature process, so there's no heat applied. It's a proprietary process for Juice Plus. And this leaves behind a powder that contains the phytonutrients and the fiber. And that powder is put in capsules and in a chewy or gummy form. The real reason that this is doable is related to the fact that most people just have no concept about how small a percentage of any piece of produce is actually made up of these phytonutrients. It's a very tiny amount because each one is there in such a tiny amount. With any piece of produce, whether it's something we think of as juicy like an orange or a peach, or something we think of as much harder like beets or carrots, on average, they are all 90% water. And when you take all of that water out, you're just not left with very much space-occupying material. That's how this is doable. Now, I personally have experienced a significant positive impact on my health status over the last 20 years from taking Juice Plus, and that's even with a vegetarian diet. So I know personally that this is effective, but that's not proof to any of you that it would do the same thing for you. The real reason I can tell anyone whose diet does not supply enough whole food nutrition that Juice Plus will indeed help fill in that gap. It'll bridge that gap between what we're eating and what we should be eating. It'll have a positive impact on your health status is because of the research that has been completed and published over the last 18 years or so. And these are scientific medical studies done at very reputable institutions around the world. And basically, in brief summary, what we know from a number of these studies is, first of all, Juice Plus, the nutrition in Juice Plus is bioavailable. All that means is that when you put this powder and some water into your gut, these nutrients are very easily absorbed from the gut into the bloodstream to be delivered to the rest of the body. This is clearly shown by measuring blood levels of nutrients before and after people take Juice Plus. This is really important for people who have serious bowel problems, serious enough to where they have a lot of trouble digesting the foods. The best example I know of for this is people with Crohn's disease. Crohn's disease is an autoimmune inflammatory bowel problem that causes pain and cramps and flare-ups of pain and fever and abscesses and necessitates surgery in many instances. And these folks cannot eat whole foods. They can take Juice Plus. And every one of them I personally know who has done so has tolerated it well and has seen a significant decrease in the severity of symptoms and the need for medication. And they have been able eventually to begin to eat more whole foods again. This is a tremendous change in the quality of life for these folks. We have shown in multiple studies that Juice Plus reduces the amount of that free radical damage that's going on in the body. So this means basically a slower rate of wearing out and a lower risk of illness and disease. We've shown this in people who are doing things to increase free radical production. One is during exercise. We've clearly shown that even while these folks are exercising at a high level of activity, that Juice Plus reduces the free radical damage. And we've shown it in smokers. Smokers who are still smoking experience less free radical damage when they're taking Juice Plus as well. The other point to make from this smoker study is that these folks' lungs work better when they take Juice Plus, even while they're still smoking. Air moves in and out more easily, and oxygen moves from the lung into the bloodstream more easily. I think that's some of the most remarkable research data we have, is that even while they're doing something to interfere with normal lung function, Juice Plus helps those lungs function better. We know that Juice Plus has a very positive impact on skin health. In this study, Juice Plus was shown to increase what is called the microcirculation to the skin. This means the tiniest little arteries, the arterioles and the capillaries, are functioning better, delivering blood flow and oxygen and nutrients to the skin cells better. The skin becomes thicker and more dense and better hydrated. It holds on to water better. So it's now a better protective covering for the body. My own personal skin health experience has been that I don't sunburn nearly as easily as I used to. I'm very light-skinned, and I used to have to be really careful. Any of you who have had children will likely remember that when they were babies and you fed them a lot of strained carrots, they turned orange. That's normal. That is a normal coloration from the carotenoid antioxidants in those fruits and vegetables. And I have a little bit of that coloration, and this is why I don't sunburn nearly as easily. We've also shown that Juice Plus protects the health of the lining of the arteries. The lining is called the endothelium, and it is in control of artery activity, such as dilating and constricting, so that blood flow is regulated and blood pressure. That lining is damaged by free radicals, and when that happens, it can't do its job nearly as well. And Juice Plus has been shown to protect that lining from damage from free radicals, especially when a large load of them is produced. We've also have a pediatric study that looked at a group of boys between 6 and 10 years old, half of them lean and half of them obese. And half of each group took Juice Plus, and the other half of each group took the placebo, or the dummy capsules. And over a 6-month period of time, the obese boys taking Juice Plus lost a significant percentage of their abdominal fat mass, whereas the obese boys in the placebo group actually gained some more fat. That's a wonderful thing in and of itself, but the other information from this study was also really important. Insulin, and this information involves, in my opinion, these boys' risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Insulin is the hormone produced by the pancreas that must be present in order for blood sugar to move from the bloodstream into the inside of the cells where it can be used for energy. As we become heavier, the cells become less sensitive to or more resistant to the effect of the insulin, so more blood sugar stays in the bloodstream. Now you have a higher blood sugar, and the pancreas is going to kick out more insulin, and this is the start of the development of type 2 diabetes. In these obese boys who lost a portion of their abdominal fat mass, we showed that they actually had a reduction in their insulin resistance. And in my opinion, that means a much lower risk of these boys ever becoming type 2 diabetic. What a change in the prospects of a healthy life for a child. That's just astounding. We also have, there are multiple other studies we could discuss, but that's about all I have time to mention right now. We also have a children's health study, which is an ongoing program for the last 16 years that means that any time a new order is placed for Juice Plus, a young person between 4 and college age can get Juice Plus free for up to 4 years in return for occasional questionnaire information about health status of the child and the adult. We're over 1 million children now around the world who have gotten free Juice Plus in this program. And the epidemiologic data we are accumulating from these questionnaires shows that in general, these kids miss less school and take less medicine and go to the doctor less often and actually begin to eat more fruits and vegetables. Many people report this effect, that their food cravings change. Your body craves more of what you're already giving it. So it's not uncommon for a parent to tell us that the child who used to want ice cream at bedtime is in the refrigerator looking for a carrot. Really a very clear effect for many, many people. So just to maybe summarize this in a few simple statements that I think carry very important meaning. One is that many people think that taking good care of themselves means going to the doctor and getting the right medication when something does happen. And medicines are very important to us in many instances, indeed life-saving. But medications are all foreign substances to the body. The human body's never seen these things. There's nothing in fruits and vegetables, and therefore in Juice Plus, that the human body's never seen and doesn't know what to do with. The difference here is that medications do things to you. Nutrition does things for you, and that's a critical difference. There are no health problems that cannot be at least helped by better nutrition, and they will all continue to get worse without it. You will never be as healthy as you could be if you don't have enough whole food nutrition. Now, there's just no way around that fact. It's inarguable. There are a lot of folks probably who would think that just, especially people who already have to take several medications might think that, and I've heard from people, boy, I just don't want to have to take any more pills. And I really like to look at that a different way. They're tending to think that that's going to be a real bother or a hassle. And I have a little different opinion of that. How much trouble is it? How much hassle is it to have to check your blood sugar several times a day when you've developed diabetes and take the medications and worry about the complications? How much hassle is it to take that list of medications that your doctor's prescribed for you and keep track of them and remember what you already took in the day and what to take on an empty stomach and what to take for food? How much hassle is it to go through dialysis because usually because of diabetes or high blood pressure, you have suffered kidney damage and now your kidneys don't work anymore, and all of the problems and dietary restrictions that go along with that problem? How much hassle is it to go through chemotherapy and radiation therapy for a cancer and hope you come out on the other end of it with some quality of life? On the other hand, how much hassle is it to take 6 capsules a day, 2 capsules 3 times a day, to give your body the nutrition that it must have and that it knows how to use in order to reduce your risk of all the bad stuff and to allow your body to do what it knows how to do, to make things better and to stay as well as possible for any one individual. Whole food nutrition is absolutely imperative if you want to give yourself the best possible chance of staying well and healthy throughout life. So if you know that your diet is not supplying enough of this, please talk to the person who invited you to listen in tonight and make arrangements to add Juice Plus to your and your family's diet, because we know it will make a difference. We've proven in the research that this will work. This will have a positive impact on your health. And if you do this tonight, you won't be as old next month as you will be otherwise. Please take a look at your intake of whole food nutrition and make the decision that you're going to be sure from now on that you and your loved ones get enough of it. Cheryl, I'm going to stop there.
Thank you so much, Paul. I love it when I hear you share, all the Juice Plus information. And I love the part especially that if you take it now, you won't be as old, as time goes forward as you would be otherwise. I feel very blessed to have been on it for 24 years now. And like you said, health just, my level of health is so much better at this point in my life than it ever was before, and through these years than it ever was previous to that. And, we can talk about how powerful the research is, but we also, as we have watched people over 24 years consume the Juice Plus product, certainly the research validates what we see, but we see it in people every day through all, the world now with Juice Plus, is that no matter what condition their body is dealing with it, they're going to deal with it much more efficiently. I love you sharing how so many things are helped by Juice Plus, but everything, things we can't see in our bodies or feel or know is going on. I know for myself, this threat of osteoporosis in my family is huge, and I had a lot of bone loss that over all these years has now, remedied itself somehow with the Juice Plus. And for me, that's really, a miracle, because I can't see my skeleton or feel it, and yet now when there's a checkup, they say, oh, that's really good, and that was not the case when I started. So there's so many things that good nutrition does that I would not have known anything about had I not, been lucky enough that this was what I happened to be doing on a daily basis with this company and learning as we go, as well as supporting my body and that of my family, as we progress through this. So it's a very exciting time, I think, for all of us, because, we not only are part of something that really can make a difference for other people, but in a time of high stress from both an economic standpoint and a food standpoint and the whole situation of, medical and how medical is really kind of tapped out, I guess would be the word, as far as trying to deal with all the issues that people have. We have an edge, and it's great to have an edge. So thank you so much tonight for your time. We always love hearing from you, and
My pleasure.
I know how valuable your time is, but we love you for sharing and for your knowledge. And for everybody on the line, we just are really blessed with this product. So don't take it for granted. It looks really simple, and, fruits and vegetables sound really simple, and they are. You don't have to educate people on the fact that they need them, but they're so very powerful, and we've seen that over and over and over. So thank you, Paul. Appreciate it. We look forward to seeing you somewhere along the way.
Talk to everybody soon.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Take care. Good night.